Okay, so the documentaries have all the incidents, or most of the incidents, in there. There's another one called UFO Files. UFO Files has all the cases as well. So number one, the Roswell incident is a good. There were two down saucers in the Roswell incident. There was another one in Kingman, Arizona, and there's many others. Next, the Malmstrom Air Force Base sighting, and all these incidents are in the documentaries. They're in the Out of the Blue. They're in the other one. So the Out of the Blue is the main one. Out of the Blue, James Fox. The next one is 50 Years of Denial. 50 Years of Denial. And there's another one called, let me see, 50 Years of Denial. The other one is called I Know What I Saw, which is also by James Fox. And then there's the UFO Files. Each one of the episodes talks about specific incidents. They are each specific incidents. These are only the best well-known incidents, which are the real incidents, not the lesser known, which are also incidents. Just because an actress in Hollywood is a lesser known actress does not mean that she's not a human being that has hair and has eyes and she's a real person. Just lesser known person. In that same way, there's other UFO cases which are lesser known, but doesn't mean that there's not a person there. There's still beings there that have visited, maybe just a shorter time. The next one is 1952, Washington, D.C. flyover. A pretty important incident, actually, where they were trying to contact us or give us signs right over the Capitol building in 1952 in Washington, D.C. And then Sabre jets were scrambled in, and scrambling the Sabre jets, these things took off at 40,000 miles per hour. And a Sabre jet, this is the 1950s, a Sabre jet travels about 450 miles an hour. That's its maximum speed. It's pretty high speed back in the day. 450 miles an hour is pretty fast. These things took off at 40,000 miles per hour. Then the Sabre jets were flying around for a while, then they landed again and said, we saw a little something, but they took off. And then they landed again, and then they came back and were going around again. The Sabre jets were scrambled again to try to intercept them and try to make visual contact. They took off again at about 30 to 40,000 miles an hour again. So that's called the Washington, and that incident is called the Washington, D.C. merry-go-round. Because like a merry-go-round turning around in circles, oh, they're back. Okay, we're going to take a look at them. Oh, they're gone. Head back to base, land. You can't stay in the air forever. I guess you got to land. And then, oh, they're back again. A scramble again. And so it's called the Washington, D.C. merry-go-round, 1952. The next incident is Bentwaters. Let's go with the Bentwaters. This is 1980. 1980, Bentwaters, England. It's a nuclear, again, another nuclear incidents, quite a few nuclear incidents. The Malmstrom was a nuclear too. Bentwaters nuclear missile installation, 1980, and there were sightings, a lot of strange light sightings, and they shined beams down on the ground. There's guys that went into the woods and they saw a triangular object in the woods hovering around with some strange writing on it and stuff. It was shining around, and then it fucking took off in the air above the clouds and took off. The next night is when the real incident happened. They came back again, shining lights all over. Our people, the humans, went out and looked at them. They had whole lines of military police looking into what this was. And then in a field, in a clearing, they came down, and three beings in these round kind of... Stephen Greer also knows all about all these sightings. So does Nick Pope, so do many others. These round thing, like in these round spheres, you could see these beings sitting there trying to talk to us. Probably about the nuclear weapons, since it was a nuclear weapons base, how dangerous, how bad these nuclear weapons are. And then one of our admirals or officers went up and was talking with them and interacting in some way for quite some time. The area was cordoned off, and the other people were told to get out of here, to go away, get out of here, and it just had a couple people around the perimeter who were looking at the situation. That's called the Rendlesham Bentwaters incident. Highly, highly documented. Lots of officers all documented what it was, and cover-up attempts to later make these officers seem like they're crazy. They poisoned them with LSD and stuff like that to make them seem like they're messed up. But a lot of officers, the Cabansack guy, a lot of officers know all about it, and it's called the Rendlesham incident. These are Air Force officers. They're not going to be going out and hallucinating out in the jungle and playing with themselves and playing with flashlights. They really saw something and they reported on it, and they went out there and they saw it. They're not going to make up something like that. Shh. And so the next incident, the California, it's all in the out of the blue. The California, over the coast of California, Monterey, it actually relates to nuclear weapons as well. A lot of this stuff really does relate to nuclear weapons, and some of these beings have a real issue with these nuclear weapons and say it's not okay, and this is a recurring theme. It's not okay to have these weapons. They're extremely dangerous, and they encourage us to shut down these weapons. This shows the peaceful influence. They want us to ascend to be positive, ascend in consciousness, and not to be like gangsters or thugs, but ascend in consciousness, not to use weapons, and of course not nuclear weapons, against each other. And this is also the theme of a movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, in the 1950s, which made about all the weapons came out against the flying saucer, which was parked there, and then a robot came out of the flying saucer and just neutralized all these weapons of the U.S. Army, and all the armies were melted and neutralized the weapons. Then they came out and made peaceful contact and talked about our planet and everything, how they're guiding civilization and everything like that. And okay, so the next incident, yes, over the coast of Monterey, the nuclear weapons base fired off a test firing of a missile. And so this guy who recounts it, Doc was the guy, he was on the base there in charge of these weapons, in charge of the launch. And he says he was looking through the thing and he could see objects coming in and were firing beams at the weapon to see if they can shoot this nuclear weapon out of orbit. And they effectively did shoot again and again to get this nuclear weapon, and it was disintegrating and shooting down this nuclear weapon. And his officer said, "What the hell was that? Were you doing something funny over there with the camera, or what is this?" And he said, "No, sir. That's what we saw over there. It looks to me like a UFO." And then he said, "You're never allowed to talk. You're not going to talk about this again. As far as this case is closed, don't tell anyone about this incident." And then some other men came in, men in black type thing, came in and confiscated the reels, all of the footage that showed it. Came and took away the footage, so nobody publicized that incident. Also, the Roswell, which was 1947, so that one was 1970s or 1980s. Malmstrom was 1980s, and Rendlesham was 1980, exactly 1980. Roswell was 1947, very well known. It was two saucers that crashed at Roswell. Most of the stuff that was actually crashed or able to retrieve something was brought to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and some of it then to Area 51, where it was really opened up and reverse engineered, because Area 51 is really secretive. Even to this day, it's very secretive. Wright-Patterson is out in the open, a lot of trucks driving around, a lot of people out in the open. So Area 51 is much more secretive because it's so remote, in the middle of vast deserts. It takes you hours just to drive through open desert to get to the very kind of remote base. So it's mostly at Wright-Patterson and Area 51. Because of the internet, everybody knows about the stuff. Everybody knows about it. Only people that have been fed the mainstream media have not done any research, so they don't know anything about it since they haven't done any research. Okay, a couple other incidents. There's many incidents like this. It's usually a sighting, a landing, actual contact, like the Rendlesham incident was actual contact. They saw the stuff, they saw these vehicles, then they actually landed and made actual contact and spoke to people, and then took off and left at the end. There's many of these incidents, but those incidents, and each of these incidents, those incidents are very carefully picked as to be legit incidents. They're not fakes or hoaxes. So by studying these, we can see that it is going on, it's real, and it's something that they want covered up because people would be extremely interested in it, but now because of the internet, it's loose. This stuff is all loose on the internet. So again, people who think like, oh, do you think aliens could be here? That has nothing to do with reality. That's a subjective decision. Do you think that aliens could exist? That has nothing to do with the scientific evidence. The scientific evidence, by looking at these cases, shows that we know as a fact that not do they exist only, of course they exist, we've seen it as a fact, but they have landed in many, many cases, the Travis Walton as well, and the Betty and Barney Hill incident, and the Gulf Breeze, Florida incident with Ed Walters, the building contractor. So those are three more legitimate incidents. These are CE3 or Contact 3 incidents. These are incidents in which they tried to abduct people or got into a fight or an argument with people, or they, some kind of an altercation actually took place with the beings coming out, stepping and shooting a weapon at you. People said, "Whoa, no, get back to the car." And they see so much resistance. This is not a really good guy to abduct. Let's maybe go for a woman or somebody who's easier to capture. So these are actual capture and abduct. And they do experiments and look at the people, ask questions, or try to interact. There's many different things that would go on. But some of these incidents turn quite bad because the people are really panicked out of their freaking mind. So in many cases, there's a fight ensues, even gunfire. Some of these creatures have been killed in the gunfire because some people had guns and defended themselves. Ed Walters went underneath his big rig truck as the incident was happening. This is another case from Gulf Breeze, Florida. Now, these are hand-picked incidents which are written about in books, and you can see these incidents. So three more incidents. Okay, Travis Walton, number 1. Number 2, Betty and Barney Hill, the very first abduction case in 1962. And the third one is Gulf Breeze, Florida, Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Florida. There's a building contractor, Ed Walters, who was a building contractor in his own home, contractor at work, and then came back to his own home. In the home, there was some very strange incidents. He started seeing these lights. They were interacting with him and trying to do an abduction. They were trying to actually take him and pull him up there, and he was holding on his door frame. So this is a very scary incident. He was holding on his door frame as they were trying to suck him up there with a blue beam, and he documented it, had a lot of crazy things happening, and then people tried to go into his house and plant fake little models of saucers and make fake photography to make it look like, wow, look at this model that this guy has. He's obsessed with UFOs. He's built the model. It's not a real photograph. Look at this model. And so they came and tried to muddy up the waters to make it look like he's crazy. He's got too much time on his hands. He's imagining these things. He's making toy models and stuff and holding them up and taking pictures and saying the aliens are coming down. Look at this great shot. But really, we've discovered a model. It's a fake. So that happened after the incident to try to discredit his incident, make it seem like it's bullshit. Nobody paying attention to this. It's crap. The guy's a lunatic. He's building models and making movies of alien ships. And so they did all that to try to make it look ha 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 and make everybody laugh at him, to not take the incident seriously, because that was really getting out of hand, that incident. The amount of abduction attempts, the connection with the psychology, they were projecting images in his head and all kind of things to try to get him to do the abduction correctly and stuff. And so that is, I believe that's the 80s, and that is Gulf Breeze, Florida. And there's many incidents like this, and because of the incidents we know as a fact, it's not a theory. It's not asking someone like, oh, do you think they could exist? And then, oh, my subjective opinion, maybe they could. No, it's nothing about that. Most of our technology with computers is based upon what was recovered at Roswell and other crashes. They had these silicon chips and these circuitry, which was new to us. We didn't have that kind of silicon circuitry with electrical bursts going through it. So we reversed engineered, and all the computers, remember, there were no computers before 1950 and 1960s. There was no computers before that. Why? The computers started in the 1970s and 1980s when they figured out how to reverse engineer this stuff and started making their own computers based upon the computers and this technology that they found. So all of a sudden, so fast, we have an explosion of computer technology. Very strange, huh? In the 80s, in the 90s, and now just an explosion. Everybody has computers. Everybody's got them. Okay, they reverse engineered all this from what they found at Roswell and the other crashes. So all these incidents show us, it's not like, oh, what do you think about it? It has nothing to do with what you're thinking about. What you're thinking about has nothing to do with what's really out there. What's really out there is the actual incidents of proof of these different cases. There's many different incidents. Some are kind of hostile, some are not hostile. Landings, some trying to meet people, some trying to disengage the nuclear weapons. Other times they tried to meet presidents. A lot of presidents have had actual sightings because they have tried to basically approach them and make positive contact. Okay? But what happens is we as humans are so kind of dumbed down, have military and ready to shoot with the military right away if you don't know what it is. So much violence and stuff is what they got in return that they were really like, oh my God, do you really have to shoot at us? I mean, how unbelievably violent and dumb are you guys? You really have to start shooting weapons at us? We're trying to make some progress here and interact in a civilized manner. So that's what they got in response for trying to make contact. So after a while, they just said, "Oh my God, it's just this is really really difficult to do, to make a positive, enlightened contact." And some of the movies take on these questions as well. So that's what's going on. And because of the internet, it's loose. This stuff is all out there. Anybody who, like I said, disclosure has already happened. Disclosure has already happened. Anybody who wants to see the truth there, you can dig deep enough in 1 hour. In 1 hour of research, you can dig deep enough and see the truth. That's it. And so only by being mind controls do they keep the people by saying, ha ha, that's nothing, ha ha. They have not done any research, and so they choose not to see it. There's a lot of things in the world that people choose not to see because they want not to see. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. And if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to see it. Well, you're never going to find truth. You're never going to know what the true truth is about a subject. But a lot of people that do want to know about it, you can research it and know about it. The important thing to understand is there's no fear about this kind of thing because if they have better technology, if they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it by now. And almost none of the incidents are showing that they wanted to destroy us or burn us or drop bombs or nothing like that. Or implant something inside, into all the control the population, burn the people off. None of that has shown that. They're pretty peaceful, pretty average, really, beings. Average beings that want to exist just the way we want to exist and make contact and make positive things happen, meet people and go places and eat food. And they're very similar to us in many ways. The technology is a little bit more advanced than our technology. Remember, not that much. It's not a million years advanced. It's just a little bit more advanced, just, a couple hundred years more into the future. So they're actually quite similar to us. And our technology, since we've reverse engineered a lot of what they have, we have now at this point basically the same technology that they have. We have a lot of the same technology that they have. So you can think of it maybe as compared to the Mexicans in the time of Cabeza de Vaca or Columbus, compared to the Spanish and the Columbus, They had horses, they had silver helmets, they had bow and arrows, they had guns. So they were close to the technology, but once they started interacting, the Mexicans also had horses. They probably got horses, and they got some guns and stuff, learned how the guns work. So it's not a leap of millions of years advanced. It's more like just your brothers, which are slightly more advanced and have spaceships that can take off into the air. Today we have cars that go on the ground. So it's not that much different. It's just slightly advanced technology and advanced spirituality. So they're not killing each other the way we are still. And, they're more spiritually advanced. So they'll live hundreds and hundreds of years longer compared to poisoning your environment and fighting wars and stuff. You're not going to live very long if you're poisoning your environment, fighting wars and stuff. So being spiritually advanced, you live a lot longer. You can develop amazing technology. Nobody's fighting with each other. You get along and do amazing things. It's a much better deal. And they've been trying to actually get us, to realize that. And people are slowly realizing that, slowly waking up to that. But there's dark forces that make money from keeping people down and controlled. So, they make a lot of money by keeping the enslavement systems going. So that's going on as well. Anyhow, that's the UFO thing. And there are documentaries. Number 1, Out of the Blue by James Fox. Number 2, 50 Years of Denial is a great documentary. Number 3, UFO Files. It's a documentary movie. It's called UFO Files. And another one is called I Know What I Saw, also by James Fox. These are the UFO documentaries. There's also someone called Ancient Aliens. There's also Eric Van Daniken and many others. Ancient Aliens is a good one. The UFO Files is a really great one. And so you can learn about some of these incidents. And for people today, it's a hobby item or a trivial item. By knowing that there's aliens, you're not going to make $1 million. It's just kind of a little hobby or something. So it's kind of a hobby item or a study, research kind of item.